I find myself standing in the small park at the edge of our neighborhood, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and freshly mowed grass, a stark contrast to the putrid feeling that has invaded my mind after another suffocating afternoon with my mother. The golden rays of the sun spill through the leaves of the towering oaks, casting dancing shadows on the ground, but the beauty around me is lost on my troubled heart. Today I wore my favorite long-sleeved blue sweater, but even the soft fabric feels scratchy against my skin as I replay the last argument in my head. "You're just like your father," she shrieked, her voice sharp enough to cut through my resolve as I stood in the cramped kitchen, lingering near the refrigerator where expired leftovers were stashed away like old wounds. "Weak, always needing a handout, you're both so pathetic, I have to deal with you and him." Those were her words, spoken so coldly through gritted teeth. It felt like she aimed each statement like a carefully crafted knife designed to inflict maximum pain. I want to scream, to shout back, to defend my father, but every time I try, her words wrap around my throat like a noose. I just stood there, frozen, feeling my heart pound in my chest, a heavy drum echoing the reality of our twisted dynamic. Each insult is a reminder of how little she values the love that should fill our lives. Our family should be a sanctuary, not a war zone. As my mother's bitterness seeped into every corner of our home like a toxic gas, I felt more and more like I had to choose between my sanity and my love for my dad. And of course I choose him. I want him to smile, to laugh, to bask in the softness of fleeting moments where he isn't an afterthought or a punching bag for her disdain. As I stand beneath the canopy of branches, the sunlight breaks through in a burst, illuminating a path that feels almost inviting, a path I might walk toward freedom. My father deserves joy, his laughter when we're on those walks dances like music, drowning out the chaos inside our little world. "I don't know how much more of this I can take," I muttered to myself, the weight of my frustration solidifying into a resolve. I can't keep letting my mother's darkness extinguish our fleeting moments of happiness. "This has to stop," I whisper, feeling a fire ignite deep within my gut, flickering and bold. I take a few steps away from the park bench, my heels crunching the gravel beneath me as I work to catch my breath. Inspiration flows through my veins like a current of ice-cold water meeting the warmth of the sun. Freedom might mean more than just escaping our home. It could involve lighting a spark of chaos so she can't help but see what she's doing. I can't shake the word revenge from my thoughts, however unsettling it feels. It aligns with the swirl of fierce anger. "Revenge is not a right, Clara," I chide myself, but the swirling images in my head make it hard to crumble against my conscience. Each vivid scene I imagine is both wicked and terrifying, a wild tangle of retribution, sweet relief, and dark satisfaction. "You have to do something," I murmur, my breaths coming out quick. "It's time to liberate him." I picture my father walking with a bounce in his step, a lightness that hasn't been there for too long, and the thought grants me strength. I picture my mother, her biting sarcasm a weapon that I'm finally willing to turn back at her. I can feel her energy, it suffocates us both, but what if I could flip her control against her? "You're not a victim, Clara, not when there's a chance," I say aloud, shaking my head as my heart beats louder in my ears. Even now, the idea makes me feel delightfully wicked, like I've woven a plan intricate enough to pull the rug out from under her. I remember the countless times she used guilt like a bludgeon, digging into my psyche every chance she could. She is always the victim, holding the reins like a puppeteer while we dance to her tune. "If only you could see what I put up with," she had once claimed, as if broken dreams and toxic emotions are a life choice she made for herself. "I'll show her what it means to be truly vulnerable, to feel the shockwaves of anguish she pronounces on everyone else." I can see the thread of my plan begin to spin out before me. It feels tangible, as though I'm holding pieces of it in my palms. It begins with small gestures, planting the seeds of doubt, creating moments that shift the spotlight back onto her. I can feel myself smiling at the idea, the corners of my mouth pulling up as I can almost envision her frantic realization as consequences ripple through her carefully maintained facade. "You don't want me to sap your power, you want to keep us both under your thumb? Well, two can play this game," I say to the park, feeling that fierce energy channeling inside me. Deciding to take a step forward, I kick lightly at the scattered stones underfoot, sending them skittering in various directions. The earthy scent mixed with trace notes of blooming flowers awakens the world around me, and for the first time today, I feel something resembling hope bubbling within. This is my chance. I'm ready to plant the seeds of upheaval, and I'll tend them carefully, doggedly. "It's going to take precision," I whisper, considering every move like a chess player, anticipating the opponent's countermoves. "But I can do this for Dad." The determination builds as I close my eyes, taking a steadying breath. Moments later, as if punctuating my clarity, I hear a familiar voice in the distance, a warm, gentle sound that makes my heart hammer against my ribcage. It is hopeful, reassuring. "Clara, sweetheart, over here." I turn, and there is my father, a friendly silhouette against the sun, making his way toward me with a half-smile crossed with worry etched on his features. His thinning silver hair catches the sunlight like gossamer threads. His brown eyes, pools of wisdom and tenderness, feel as if they can pierce through the chaos and see my resolve. "I thought you needed some air," he says, his voice laced with concern, yet the warmth in his tone is comforting, melting the ice that has built up around my heart. "Yeah, I just needed a moment to breathe," I reply, feeling the fire inside me soften when I see him. Even just the sight of him helps ground my swirling thoughts. "How about we take one of our walks?" I suggest, letting a genuine smile slip onto my lips. Sounds perfect, just the fresh air I need, he grins, and it lights up the shadows lurking around my heart like sunlight breaking through a thick cloud. We step side by side along the path as the winds rustle the leaves overhead, the hum of early evening creating a serene atmosphere. Sometimes I wish we could stay out here forever, he remarks, his words entwined with a sigh that speaks volumes. Know what you mean? I don't know how you stand it in there. My heart lurches at the skewering honesty in his words, a tension weaving itself through my gut. I can't keep letting her pull you down. I refuse, I declare more firmly than I expected, the fire reigniting at the thought. He eyes me carefully, a hint of unease flickering across his face. Clara, you know she loves you, he starts, concern lacing his tone, almost as if he's trying to shield me from the truth that lies beneath her love. Love. She twists love into shackles. I bite off the words, feeling the weight of my frustrations spill over the edge. Dad, it's all manipulation and control. Clara, he murmurs, pausing our walk and placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. I can see him searching for a way to reassure me, the wrinkles of worry deepening across his forehead. You have to understand how this affects her too. She's been through so much, but she's hurting you. She can't keep masking that with love and complaints. It's not okay. I can feel the pulse of my heart quickening at the thought of her words tearing into him, and my throat tightens with every gaping echo of past arguments. He sighs heavily, and I can see him take a moment to gather his thoughts. Your mom has her demons, he finally admits, disappointment tinging his voice. We all have our struggles, Clara. Maybe she's lost, and we need to help her find her way back. Help, she's ripping us apart. The words burst out raw and unfiltered, the frustration spilling over every emotional barricade I've built. Sometimes love should mean a different kind of rebellion, he counters softly, his eyes pooling with empathy, but that takes time and patience. In that moment, something shifts in me as I consider my internal yearning for justice and the swirling idea of revenge. Shouldn't I trust my feelings? Maybe. I don't need patience anymore, I say carefully, my voice quaking, steady resolve intertwining with uncertainty. I can outmaneuver her. He raises an eyebrow, teasing a small smile that feels buoyant despite our heavy conversation. What exactly do you mean? I just think maybe it's time the storm gets a taste of its own medicine, I say, the burning resolve igniting anew in my chest. Just promise me you won't lose yourself in darkness, he warns, his touch still warm on my shoulder even as a serious weight settles between us. The chaos I plan to unleash grows stronger with each word that leaves my lips. What I need is clarity, not oblivion. I want to be fierce, not frenzied. I promise I won't lose myself, I reply, a thread of determination lacing my voice. I know where I'm headed. The winds of change are starting to bend around me while my heart resonates with my father's unwavering faith and my empathy. Our special walks, I say, a flicker of nostalgia swelling in my chest as I squeeze his hand in a moment of gratitude. They've always been the bright spot. He nods, an expression of understanding anchoring us both as we resume our path through the sunlight streaming between the trees. Today's heaviness isn't an end, but a new beginning, a fresh chapter waiting to be written where I play the role of the architect in this storm brewing below the surface. The chaos will come, I can feel it weaving through every beat of my heart, creating the fire I need to fight back against a decades-long struggle. I am ready to be the storm after years of quiet ashen despair, and I won't be doing it alone. Not anymore, my father will be free, carrying the weight of love instead of torment, and with every step we share that evening, the anticipation of that liberation fuels my resolve. A wicked smirk plays on my lips as I steal a sidelong glance at him, the warmth in his presence amplifying my realization. This battle won't just be mine, it will be ours. Get ready for a storm, Mom. I whisper under my breath, eyes filled with a wicked glint with determination now fueling my actions. I begin crafting my plan. It all starts simply more walks with my dad. The crisp air of the early morning fills the atmosphere like a breath of fresh possibilities. I invite him out more frequently, creating spaces in our schedules that completely exclude her influence. The allure of the park just down the street becomes our sacred domain, a space where laughter can reign without the chilling bite of her critical remarks. Each stroll becomes a reminder to him of the joys that exist beyond her negativity, a steadfast rebellion against the suffocating presence that had been looming over his spirit. Dad, how about a walk today? I ask one Saturday, my voice bubbling with enthusiasm as I find him leafing through an old newspaper, a faint frown etched on his face. The sunlight streams through the window, casting a warm glow over him that momentarily softens those lines of worry. Sure, where to? He looks up, a hint of surprise dancing in his eyes that have grown weary over the years. I can almost hear the gears turning in his mind, the tightness in his shoulders loosening just a bit. The park, I say firmly but gently. I want to show you that little trail we used to love, the one with the cherry blossoms. A smile breaks through like the sun emerging from behind the clouds as he reminisces. Ah, yes, I remember the year those trees bloomed so beautifully. It was like walking into a pink cloud. You could always find beauty in the simplest things, Clara. I watch with silent glee as the spark ignites behind his tired eyes, giving life to the man I have loved and respected so dearly all these years. My heart flickers with hope, a golden ember of possibility beginning to glow. It is proof enough that I am on the right path. As we stroll through the park, I watch his gait gradually shift. See that? I point to a pair of kids bouncing a soccer ball across the grass. Just the other day, I saw them playing with their dog here too. It reminded me of those Saturday afternoons we spent tossing the ball around. He chuckles lightly, a sound I had missed hearing. Ah, yes, you had quite the arm back then, but it's your mother who couldn't catch it all. The laughter that spills from his lips is like a melody, weaving through the trees and the startled birds, a song of freedom that fights back against the silence of her critical remarks. Weeks pass, and I notice something changing in him. His shoulders lose their burden ever so slightly, and the wrinkles on his forehead begin to smooth. I can feel her grip loosening, but I must ensure it keeps unraveling. I start planting subtle seeds of doubt in my mother's mind. During dinner, I casually mention how good my father looks after our walks. His face has a glow now, don't you think? It's almost as if he's shedding years like leaves in autumn. And you know what? He seems genuinely happy, I say with a lightness that belies the weight behind my words. She pauses, her fork halting in midair, brow furrowing as she scans my father, who is too busy savoring the meal to notice the ominous air settling over us. He's always looked fine, Clara. Happiness is an illusion. Yet I can see it in her eyes. She does not grasp the power I am wielding with my words. Her arrogance blinds her to the truth I have deftly placed before her, feeding the fire of doubt beneath her cool exterior. It becomes a game of chess, one that I am determined to win, every move calculated with precision. As the days turn into weeks, I watch my father's spirits continue to rise. The laughter that erupts from him seems to be a foreign language to her, confusing and irritating. I pay close attention to how her demeanor shifts, how her irritation shows clearly as she snaps at him for the smallest things. Why are you always so busy these days? She snipes one evening, the venom creeping into her voice like a snake ready to strike. Busy? I just went for a walk, Mary. The weariness in his voice contradicts her sharp tone, but he stands his ground, and for the first time in years, he is not backing down. I was talking about those long walks with our daughter, she sneers. Does that really matter when you have responsibilities waiting at home? Those moments matter, he replies softly, surprising me even more. They are precious, so is spending time with you, but you seem to have a way of making it feel like an obligation rather than a joy. I can barely contain my satisfaction at the shift in their dynamic. Each passing day feels like a small victory, yet this isn't enough. I know I need to escalate my plan further. To solidify my scheme, I invite my grandmother over for lunch one sunny afternoon, aware of how much she means to my father. I meticulously prepare the table with his favorite dishes, each bowl and plate filled with vibrant colors, bright greens of fresh salad, the golden hue of roasted chicken, and steaming rice that invites warmth. Mom loves these walks we've been having, Grandma, I say casually, stirring the conversation like a gentle pot. He says he hasn't felt this alive in years. You should have seen the way he lit up telling me about the time you took him to the beach. It's like magic seeing him smile again. Grandmother's face softens, a glimmer of hope sparking in her eyes. Ah, your father always loved the ocean. It was all so fun, the waves crashing around us. He needed that time. As I continue the conversation, I am hyper-aware of my mother's presence. The tension thickens in the air like a drying brushstroke as she hovers somewhere between disbelief and outright fury. I mention even more about our walks, the birds singing, flowers blooming, the crisp and refreshing air. With every joyful recount, I can feel her resentment rising, bubbling beneath the surface like a volcano ready to erupt. What is this, Clara? She interrupts, her voice dripping with condescension. A pity party for your father. It is nice to walk, but we have so much to do at home. I glance at my dad, who looks momentarily startled. His eyes shift from me to her, processing the undercurrents, and for the first time he seems to question the reality he has accepted for too long. No, Mary, it's not about pity. Sometimes taking a moment to appreciate life is what keeps us going. I need to reclaim those joyful moments. She bristles under his gentle rebuke, and I can almost see the storm brewing in her eyes. Reclaim what? Your wasted time. The edges of the discussion feel sharper now, tension casting an invisible net around our lunch table. The laughter and joy fill the space like a bright, shimmering light, easing the knot in my stomach but casting a longer shadow over the storm clouds brewing in my mother's heart. Gradually, I can see grandmother's interest growing, feeding off the lightness exuding from my father, and I recognize that this moment could trigger a turning point. I push a little further. You know, Dad, while we were walking the other day, I found out I can name all the trees along that path now. Even talk to those little birdwatchers. It's like I have a whole new world opening to me. Birdwatchers? Grandmother raises an eyebrow, intrigued. They are these kids who come to observe different species. It was fascinating. They shared tips on spotting owls at dusk. I thought of you, Grandma. Remember those times we spent looking up at the stars? I can see her leaning in, sharing in the conjecture, and the aura of warmth unfurling around us is almost palpable. My mother, however, seems to shrink back, her anger coiling tighter in the air between us. You think you can fill his head with such nonsense? She snaps. He should be spending his time in a more productive manner, not in the company of naive children and their games. In that instant, I fully understand the battle I am fighting, one not only for my father but against the heavy chains she has settled around him. My pulse quickens, I envision the confrontation I have been orchestrating for weeks ahead. No, Mary, my dad's voice is steady, asserting itself against her tirade. This is what brings me joy, this is what keeps me alive. Why is that so hard for you to understand? Suddenly, the laughter and warmth feel like a fragile bubble ready to burst at any moment, but I remain adamant in my course, intent on watching the truth unravel before us. My mother's eyes seem to darken further, drawing back from the moment where joy thrives, creating a stark contrast to my father's unfolding happiness. I swear I will not let this happen, she mutters under her breath, tightening her grip on the table, her knuckles turning white. I smile internally, knowing each moment spent in this tug of war is a step toward her unraveling. She will have to face the truth soon, her dominance over my father's life revealed for what it truly is. And I will be there to witness her unraveling, the inevitable fallout of her arrogance and dismissal. As I continue our lunch with laughter and shared memories, I watch her simmer, feeling the tension thickening with every passing moment. She may have been a formidable opponent, but in this game of unraveling lives, I feel destined to win. The tide was turning and I was steering the ship. The storm may seem fierce, but behind it lay the promise of clarity, the bright horizon awaiting beyond the turmoil. The day finally arrives, and a peculiar thrill races through me, vibrating in my chest like an exhilarating drum roll. My grandmother arrives at our apartment, a precious bundle of wisdom packed into her soft hugs and genuine, keen eyes. I welcome her in with a smile that falters only marginally. There's an undercurrent of tension that refuses to be ignored. The warmth in the air wraps around us, so different from the cool, bitter fog of resentment I have slaved away at for years. A tropical day conceals the Arctic feelings still lodged between us, waiting for the perfect moment to be extracted. After the usual pleasantries filled with Grandma's kind laughter and my feigned interest in the latest church potluck, I inhale deeply, collecting my nerves as I gesture toward the living room. My father occupies the couch, his body radiating warmth and comfort as if he were the sun itself, glowing with contentment. This man, who once seemed to wander through shadows cast by my mother's harsh words, is a shimmering tapestry of joy woven from the threads of our recent walks together. I notice my mother lingering at the threshold, her eyes narrow and calculating, as if she is sizing up the room and all its inhabitants like a hawk assessing its surroundings. An almost tangible aura of tension vibrates off her like a wall, shielding her from inquiry, but it will not hold forever. Dad, you won't believe the last hiking trail we discovered, I begin, my voice light and airy as I draw him into warm memories. You know, the one near Riverside Park? The view at the peak is breathtaking. We sat there for over an hour just chatting. You should have seen how animated you were. Oh, I felt like a kid again. His face lights up, his eyes dance with enthusiasm, and I can feel my heart swell. We even saw a family of deer right beside the path. It was like something out of a movie. Yes, exactly, I respond, a smile blooming on my lips as I encourage him to continue. And you should tell Grandma about the time you nearly tripped over a rock. Honestly, it was the highlight of the walk. Ha, you know I tend to be a bit clumsy, he replies, chuckling softly. The warmth in the room begins to expand, entwining us all in a blanket woven from shared joy, however fleeting. Yet a knowing glance from my mother quickly steals the warmth from the air, her irritation like ice water crashing into a simmering pot. I hope Clara isn't pushing you beyond your limits. She interjects sharply, feigning concern, but sending waves of condescension lapping at the edges of my resolve. You do know her endless enthusiasm can sometimes be overwhelming. She has her schemes. She emphasizes the word schemes with a sneer. The hint of a challenge dances in her words, and I can almost hear the clock ticking, each second drawing my plan closer to fruition. The ambitious voice inside my head urges me on. I must not falter, not now amidst the gathering storm. Not at all, Mom, my father reassures her. It's good for me, fresh air and exercise. Can you believe I've lost 8 pounds? You should join us, Clara, and I enjoy these walks. It's rejuvenating. He speaks with a newfound vigor, his tone dripping with sincerity. Rejuvenating, yes, she scoffs. Just like all those health fads you got wrapped up in back when you were trying to impress your old lady friend, I remember how that ended. Her sarcasm, sharp as a knife, digs deeper into the flesh of hidden grievances. Mom, it's different now. I'm not, I begin, but the tightening of her line-limited mouth signals my efforts will melt away like snow in the sun. Why must you insist on interrupting? She snaps, and the word hangs in the air, heavy with unsaid accusations. If things were as you say, Clara, we wouldn't be sitting here. The way you corner him with your constant plans reeks of desperation. Oh, Mother, Grandma chimes in gently, lacing her fingers together, an oasis of calm in the brewing storm. I think it's wonderful that Clara has been spending time with her father. It's the kind of closeness families need. Don't you remember when you used to spend time together? Taken aback, my mother's face warps between annoyance and worry, and I sense the tremor beneath her composure. It's as if Grandma has struck a chord, awakening shadows of memories long buried within my mother's mind. The point of no return is drawing nearer, and I feel a rush of excitement as the control slips through her fingers. Did you hear that? She's just building some kind of false image for everyone, she insists, her voice rising with bitterness. And she always has to take the spotlight, doesn't she? Go figure. The anger and resentment that now crackle in the air are palpable, and I momentarily savor the way my mother's carefully painted facade is chipping away, revealing cracks of vulnerability beneath. It is intoxicating watching her struggle to keep her composure. Grandma wades in once again, her voice tethered to kindness yet imbued with strength. You have to understand, Clara's been smothering him with her schemes, and it is time to let him live without your interference. The words land like thunder in the room, slicing through the tension, a slingshot releasing its grip. I feel electric, the satisfaction coursing through my veins. A profound silence envelops us, thick and suffocating, as if the world just outside our apartment ceased to exist. My pulse quickens while I watch my mother's eyes widen, words failing her as shame and disbelief cascade across her features. How satisfying it is to see her forced to confront the reality she has woven into her own web of manipulation. The toxic cycle she orchestrated for so long begins to unravel before my very eyes. My father, now glowing in a newfound light, looks at me with surprise. the truth a shimmering stream flowing freely into the crevices of our familial pain. He breathes in deeply, air filling his lungs with some newfound elation, the tension draining away in palpable waves. Watching as her elaborately constructed walls falter sends a rush of thrill spiraling through me, igniting something fierce deep within. I am settled in this moment of liberation. The memories of her insults, those dark, cutting words meant to confine me, fall away, reducing their weight until each chain slips free, vanishing into the shadows lingering in the corners of our lives. Mom, I say, my voice a mix of cautious comfort and earnest provocation. You always acted as though your intentions were pure, but you need to admit that you stifled him. You pretended to be supportive when it served you, but didn't want to face how confined your control made us all feel. The air in the room thickens, a palpable shift encompassing our hearts, and I can almost hear the unraveling of threads binding my mother to her old lifestyle of dominance. Each word acts as a soft push against her fragile ego, heralding the beginning of a true mutiny within this family. Clara, you have no idea what you've done, you never listen. She bites back, rage radiating from her, though I can see the cracks forming beneath her bravado. Then let me make it clear, I am reclaiming our family piece by piece, I say, my voice steadier than I expected it to be. I let the weight of those words settle. It is no longer about vengeance alone, this is about healing. I am not only fighting for my father's happiness, but also tearing down the toxic walls that have wiped out so much light from our lives. As the silence stretches, I feel liberated, my heart swelling with a satisfaction that illuminates the darkest corners of my own past. My mother stands there shaken and confused, her eyes swimming with emotions she once thought she had buried. Her identity, built on a foundation of control and submission, is faltering, and I can hardly contain the glee bubbling inside me. Grandma was right, Mom, I continue, my voice almost singing with newfound confidence. We have undeserved love and we deserve to embrace each other honestly. You need to unlock that door, the shackles of this family will only remain. My father's gaze meets mine, understanding reflecting within his usually gentle eyes. His silent gratitude serves as fuel, driving me forward as I stand bold with a sense of purpose I have long sought after. The weight of the past lifts, and although the road ahead may be fraught with challenges, I know I have finally set a course for change. With every word that escapes my lips, I am weaving a narrative that will finally expose the reality we have all been desperately trying to skirt around. My heart races at the thought of what lies ahead. I am ready to face everything for the sake of our family, the remnants of my mother's influence trembling like leaves in the wind. This is just the beginning. The relentless tides of change surge forth unabated, and with each moment the liberation feels more within reach. The air bubbled with an unspoken electricity, crackling around us as the confrontation reached its boiling point. I had stepped into this moment with a heart full of anxiety, but now it ignited a flame of determination within me that I had never known existed. My mother stood rigidly before us, her powerful aura that once commanded the room crumbling like old paint against the walls. It was almost pitiful watching her stumble over her words in an attempt to defend her reign. You do not understand, all I do is for your father's good, she insisted, her voice teetering on the edge of panic. The manicured nails that glimmered like a false crown trembled at her sides. For years, they had been tools of control, a gesture of authority reinforced by her sharp tone. But I could see it now, the fire in her eyes flickering like a dying flame as resolute truth began to illuminate the dark corners of her carefully maintained facade. My heart beat loudly in my chest, a steady drum that urged me forward. I stepped closer, narrowing the gap between us, feeling the heat of my conviction surge through me. You call this love, but all it has ever been is control and manipulation. You are not helping him, you're suffocating him. The words erupted from my lips raw and jagged, each syllable puncturing the air with undeniable force. As those words cut through the tension, they seemed to reverberate off every surface in the room, ricocheting painfully as if the very walls had conspired to amplify the truth I'd just unveiled. Her expression twisted, morphing into a mess of anger intertwined with sorrow. I had never seen her like this, her defenses stripped away as she stood vulnerable, exposed for the first time. Clara, you don't understand how hard it is for me, my mother spat desperately, trying to regain the upper hand. I caught a glimpse of the weariness etched into her features, the shadows beneath her eyes telling stories of sleepless nights spent plotting and scheming. Everything I have done has been for the sake of our family. No, I cut her off, shaking my head with fierce conviction. This isn't family, it's your empire. Your ambitions have suffocated us. The weight of years of resentment surged forward like a tidal wave, crashing down with relentless force. Each word was a shot fired from the cannon in my chest, aimed at this fortress she had built from fear and lies. I prepared for my final defense, leaning in closer, my voice dropping to a whisper laced with urgency. Think about what you have done. What about the years we have lost in this stranglehold? Her face contorted, a silent battle raging behind her eyes, a gnarled tangle of contradictions and justifications spilled forth. I did what I had to, you don't know what it was like, your father needed me. The words hung in the air, thick and unyielding, leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. I felt the weight of the moment, the truth settling over us like a heavy fog. The air had sharpened, growing thick with a tension that felt almost tangible. It was no longer just about me or my mother, it was about my father, too. He stood beside me, his eyes darting back and forth as if he were watching an elaborate chess match unfold. I could see him wrestling with the same thoughts that slipped through my mind like wild vines turning into a tangle of roots. In that instant, everything shifted, an invisible thread had been pulled, connecting me to my father and unraveling the fabric of her control. His gaze locked onto mine, desperate and fragile yet shimmering with hope. I nodded, a subtle agreement, a silent pact sealed with the power of shared suffering. Now more than ever, we needed to break free from her chains. Her facade quivered. You think you can just walk away? You'll regret this. The warning felt weak. Gone was the thunderous authority that once echoed in her voice. Now it was merely a whisper of desperation. Despite the tumultuous waves of dread crashing against my resolve, I felt invigorated. I had equipped myself with the courage to face the uncomfortable truth, and now sunlight poured into the darkened corners of our lives, spilling through the cracks she left behind. As her form began to dissipate, the weight, the entitlement she had carried all these years slipping from her grasp, it was almost poetic. Grasping her dignity as if it were something tangible, she turned, the remnants of her authority wilting in the face of the unrelenting truth, her power no longer strong enough to hold us hostage. The sense of unexpected peace washed over me like a cool breeze on a summer's day. For weeks, I had plotted my revenge, meticulously mapping out each calculated move, yet in this moment, revenge transformed into something far greater. It was reclamation. It was the rediscovery of hope, a resurgence of happiness blooming in the wake of decay. I could feel my heartbeat slowing, each pulse reestablishing balance as I took in the moment. You did what was right, I thought, bringing my mind back to my father. He was free from her toxicity, ready to emerge from the shadows she had cast upon his spirit for far too long. Are you okay? I asked softly, my voice steady. He nodded, but there was apprehension skimming over his features like the tentative brush of a paintbrush on a canvas. He began, but the words choked in his throat, emotions flooding his gaze. It was a struggle for him, and with good reason. I could see him grappling with the years of suffocation and fear, the burden of her weight nearly crushing him beneath a facade of normality. You need to be yourself again, Dad. We can start over, I whispered, noting not just the presence of his disappointment but also the flicker of hope igniting beneath the surface. I thought I might lose you both. He breathed heavily, struggling against the tide of years filled with obligation, manipulation, and fear. I never wanted to become a shadow in my own home. Then let's step into the light together, I urged, my heart swelling with determination. You deserve more than what she has had to offer. My mother's absence began to settle in, her reflection slowly losing form in the back of my mind, casting a dim shadow that I knew would never fully dissipate, but also one that I felt more than capable of escaping. Even in her departure, she had left behind echoes, remnants of bitterness and anger swirling like dead leaves caught in a windstorm. Walking towards the window, I drew back the heavy curtains that had kept the sunshine at bay for far too long, revealing the day beyond. Sunlight spilled into the room, illuminating the dust motes swirling in the air, each one a fragment of hope bursting forth from the shadows. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the aroma of liberation and warmth. It felt like awakening from a long slumber, feeling the rush of possibilities uncoil like tendrils of light around us. With newfound fervor, I turned to my father, who was still processing the reality of our breakaway from her control. Tuesday, remember that cafe we loved? I asked, a smile breaking on my face. Let's go back, I want to show you it's still there, still waiting for us. He chuckled weakly, the sound filled with a mix of disbelief and growing joy. You mean that place with the cinnamon rolls? I thought they had baked us out of existence. He was still hesitant, but I could already see the gears of his heart turning towards possibility instead of despair. Not a chance? I laughed, the sound ringing out like a bell, a melody that drifted through the air. We've been waiting long enough, it's our time, Dad. And as we moved together towards the door, it finally felt like we were stepping into a new beginning. With each step, the sunlight bathed our skin, nurturing us like soil to roots. The shadows of yesterday were slowly dissolving, retreating from their stronghold. I grasped the doorknob more confidently, feeling the power surge through me, and as I swung it open, I embraced the exhilarating unknown that awaited us beyond the threshold. The turmoil, the cycle of control perpetuated through fear, it was over. What we had unearthed today, that was life. In this unexpected reclamation, I finally felt the shackles of revenge begin to loosen, revealing a world filled with infinite possibilities that stretched out before us like an open road. We were free, the days following our confrontations swirl in a haze of newfound freedom. I slip quietly from the confines of our house, a soft thrill racing through me as the chill of the autumn air embraces my skin, sending invigorating shivers down my spine. My father stands at the doorframe, a warm smile gracing his weathered face, a reflection of spirit long covered in shadows. Our walks together feel lighter than air, as though gravity has loosened its grip, permitting us to float freely, unimpeded by burdens that once anchored us. Come on, Clara. He calls, his voice ringing with a buoyancy I had only imagined before. I remember when he used to shuffle along, eyes cast to the ground, muted by my mother's oppressive presence. But today he strides with purpose, a man finally unchained. Every step we take carries years of suffocation away from his spirit, revealing a spark of vitality that had been desperately suppressed. I glance over at him and I cannot help but marvel at the transformation. Can you believe it? He says suddenly, looking up at the sky, brushing a hand through his hair. It feels like the world has colors now, like it had been gray before and suddenly turned to vibrant hues. I can see the glimmer in his eyes, the lightness in his footsteps that resound with each echoing beat against the gravel path. I know exactly what you mean. It's like we were living in black and white, I respond, drawing deeply on our freedom, the sun warming us both in a gentle embrace. We pause at a spot where the two of us had shared many stilted silences in the past. A gnarled oak tree stands, sprawling its branches wide and inviting, and beneath it, a carpet of golden leaves cradles old memories along with new possibilities. Do you remember when I tried to climb that tree? You looked so scared. He chuckles, the sound rolling out of him rich with joy. I thought I was going to lose you that day, he says, shaking his head, his laughter mingling with the crisp air. Yeah, I remember. I was ready to call the fire department. I join him, my own laughter bubbling up as images of that fateful day flicker through my mind. You were so upset, it was hilarious. The vibrant colors of fallen leaves whirl around us like confetti, each one an echo of freedom I never expected to find again. Every moment is a treasure, filled with shared smiles and the joyful rhythm of reclaiming what was lost. We sit for a spell beneath that tree, its branches swaying with the gentle wind, a calming lullaby that allows us to linger in this newly created space for positivity. He leans back against the trunk, soaking up the sunshine, and I can tell he wants to ask me something. Clara, with everything that's happened, have you thought about your mother, what you want to do now? His question hangs in the air, heavy and inviting. Part of me knows he is concerned, and I take a moment to properly process my feelings, to navigate the crossroads of resentment and care. I do think about her, I say finally, my heart performing an intricate ballet of conflicting emotions. I still love her, I just can't be in that situation anymore, not when it suffocated us, but it's her turn to confront her demons. I find my voice steady, though unsure of what lies ahead. I know she has her flaws, and I wish she could find that strength to change, but I cannot make that journey with her, not when it felt so stifling. He nods, his expression thoughtful. It's hard to let go, but you're stronger for stepping away from it. Sometimes love also means knowing when to protect yourself. Silence wraps around us, comforting as we fall back into our own thoughts. I can feel the breeze intertwine with the whispers of hope dancing around us, spreading warmth through the core of my being. From the folds of my mind, memories of our past clash with this courageous sense of freedom now buoying us. Remember that time you and Mom tried to get me to go to that family gathering at Aunt Sophie's house? I bring up with a cheeky grin, knowing how much that memory still irked him. You wanted to avoid her well-meaning advice about marriage and kids. He chuckled, shaking his head in disbelief. This was a territory we both understood too well. I could smell disaster from a mile away, he replies, his amusement evident in the deep lines that crinkle around his eyes. Your mother was determined to set you up with every eligible bachelor, as if marrying you off was the solution to life's problems. We both break into laughter, the kind that bubbles over from shared understanding, a release of tension long held within us. I remember, I say through giggles, you hid in the kitchen pretending to organize the spice rack until I came to find you. You were hopeless. I might have been much rather rearrange spices than deal with their antics, he admits, laughter dancing in his eyes. I swipe a fallen leaf and mockingly throw it at him, and he retaliates in good humor, dodging it as the two of us erupt into playful banter. But you should have seen the look on their faces when I said I was busy getting my life together, thanks. More like hiding from the relentless matchmaking blitz, I say, and we dissolve into laughter again. The shared stories feed the rejuvenation I feel, like the sun soaking into the earth beneath us. Every playful exchange we share weaves new stories into our lives, anecdotes staving off the dark figures of the past. As we finally rise to leave the comfort of the tree, I feel a pressing need to voice the hopes swirling in my mind. Dad, I start trying to weave through my thoughts. I want us to really live now. I don't want to just escape the past. I want to carve out an exciting future. I look in his eyes, which are now twinkling with spark and promise. How about we create a list of things we want to do together? We could start small, maybe take our first trip just the two of us. Like a father-daughter adventure? He asks, tilting his head as if pondering the idea. The lightness in his tone spikes through my nerves. Count me in, where do you want to go first? I have no idea, I admit before quickly adding, but it has to be somewhere we can explore, maybe a national park or a beach. I want to laugh and feel alive. I can see the bright corners of possibility spreading on his face, a dizzying array of emotions breaking free. Well, then it is settled, he announces, raising his hand in mock triumph. How about we start with something simple? Just pick a place you'd like to hike and we can decide the rest together. No rules this time, just us. His wink is playful and my heart swells with unbound anticipation. That sounds like perfect freedom, I murmur, my thoughts buzzing with excitement. I've always wanted to go hiking in the Smoky Mountains. I add, unable to hide my delight, imagining us forging our way through wooded trails adorned with golden leaves. Smoky Mountains it is then, he affirms with a grin that stretches ear to ear. I can just imagine the stories we will share by the campfire, roasting marshmallows and telling tales. Yes, the prospect of adventure floods me with effervescence, and we can take the time to rediscover nature, to breathe again without the weight on our chests. The thought of cozying up under star-studded skies beside him is a surreal comfort. We resume our walk, and I become painfully aware of how long it has been since I felt this kind of exhilaration, not just the rush of the unknown, but the thrill of possibilities unfurling in front of us. The world, painted with sunshine and laughter, shifts around us, fortifying our reclaimed sense of purpose. As we approach the end of our walk, bursting with plans and invigorated laughter, I catch a glimpse of a broken branch, and the scuffle of leaves beneath our feet reminds me of the path ahead. Dad, I say, my voice colored by sincerity, I just want you to know I feel stronger now because of you. His smile softens and he meets my gaze. And you should know, Clara, I am proud of you. You have such a good heart. We will navigate this newfound freedom together. We can be whoever we want. Yeah, I breathe, feeling the bond between us reignited, a protection of our newfound unity. Whatever comes next, we will face it together. The watchful trees seem to nod in agreement, the crisp autumn air swirling around us, carrying whispers of hope into the sky. As I look ahead, the sunlight-filled day feels like a profound gift, an earnest chance at a fresh start. I have fully embraced the power not just to escape, but also to protect and cherish the life we have reclaimed. Each moment with my father, every single laugh we share, is the antidote to what we left behind. The beauty surrounding us thrums with tremendous potential, echoing in every step like sweet melodies in my soul. Our precious family will thrive, for the toxic reign of silence and manipulation has come to an end at last.